tell you my secret now. I see dead people.
Welcome to Blondes and Booze. You are about to embark on a journey, one that often leads to more questions than answers. But fear not, your host, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy have the experience, the perseverance, and yes, even the gifts to pull back the veil and allow us to glimpse the other side. They will share not only their experiences, but will introduce you to world-renowned researchers and experiencers to help you find answers in the murky waters of what we call the paranormal. Their bonds with each other reach far beyond friendship, resulting in a pull-no-punches approach to the many subjects they explore. Their goal? To open eyes, hearts, and even minds to what lies on the other side, and the answers residing there.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Hey, welcome. Hello.
Welcome to Blondes and Booze.
With another blonde.
Yes, I'm the other blonde on the channel.
Yeah, you're the other blonde with the beard.
Mm-hmm. It just occurred to me. Does he say perseverance instead of perseverance in the? I just noticed that.
I think so.
I just heard it. I was like, wait a minute. Did he say
He's having a new opening for us though, so we'll have a new opening here real soon.
All right.
And that one's kind of. I don't want to give it away. We'll tell you backstage, Jason, what it is, but it's kind of cool, actually. Brandy came up with the idea.
Yeah, we're going real spooky.
Yeah.
All right.
Brandy, why don't you remind everybody what to watch this week?
Absolutely. On Monday, it's Texas Front Porch, of course, at 8 p.m. Central. That you can catch me in Tex. On Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central, it's Bob Van Buren with the Van Buren Variety. At 8 p.m., it is Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Beyond BMR. New on Wednesdays, our very own Jason McLean has come back live. That is at 7 p.m. Central. Woohoo! We're very excited. Real quick, Jason, tell us what you do on AM radio.
So on the Untold Radio Network, we do Mysterious Library on Tuesday nights around 9 Central, 10 in the East. There's a little nod to Rob. And basically we review books and documentaries and articles and things like that from the paranormal sphere, cryptozoology, ufology, the whole nine yards.
Oh, that's very cool. Very cool. All righty. On Thursday at 12 p.m. Central, it is Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob and his lovely co-host Krista. Thursday night, of course, it's us at 8 p.m. Central with Blondes and Booze. We come again live at 8 p.m. Central on Friday with Blondes, Booze, and the Woo. On Saturday at 2 p.m. Central, Tex and Danielle Diva drop their latest episode of Infamous Minds. And don't forget, Donnie Cho has his channel, Donnie Cho Says Stuff.
Yep.
So
and
don't forget.
Yeah, and usually his stuff premieres right after Questions Everything on Wednesday. So usually around 8.
Nice. All right.
8:30ish.
Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah. Wow.
Well, speaking of like everybody that you just mentioned, except for BMR, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is as everybody can tell, this is a pre-recorded show because we are all going to be hanging out together at the Dogman Conference.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know as of now, we are recording this on the Sunday before. There are tickets still available, and I'm just going to throw it up here. If anybody's in the area, show up, buy your ticket, and come on in. There's a great lineup of speakers, and our very own Tex is actually speaking. So it's a 2 days of conference, and then the Friday night is a meet and greet. So, and a dinner. So yeah.
Right. So this is going to be our Thursday night show. So we will be in
Falk, Arkansas.
Falk, Arkansas, yes. And we have the distinct honor of actually being able to go out to Boggy Creek and do a little investigating out there and see what we see.
Mm-hmm. So we're pretty excited. So we thought, this is kind of a, what do we want to talk about? We're like, hey, let's just do Boggy Creek, because when this is airing, that's where I'm going to be.
Yeah, that's where we're going to be. Now, what's going to happen is Krista and a few other people are going out on Thursday night. They're going to do a nighttime investigation, and they're going to go peeking around the actual location of where this happened. And Friday morning, because I'll be coming in late, Friday morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to investigate, myself out there. But I'm going to go back and investigate if they've seen anything, they heard anything. Well, that's where I'm going. I'm going to go see if there's anything there.
Yep. So stay tuned, because neither one of us will be going live from out there. However, we will be throwing some shorts up and, things like that on our page, and for members only. You guys will get the exclusives. If we catch the good stuff, that's where we're going to put it for the members.
Yes. Yep.
Well, you do need to get some videos of you over there at the Monster Mart, stopping in to get yourself some swag.
Yes.
And maybe some of Lyle's monster sauce. Actually, this is really good. I joked at this because now they all have black labels. I got one of the weird red ones, so it's like I have like the rare monster sauce. But
wow.
You can get it there as well. It's actually really good. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we'll definitely. That is one of the stops that we are going to be making. So
I bought a lot of stuff the last time I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, I know, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. One more thing I do want to bring up really, really quick. In 3 weeks is this conference, the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference and Expedition. Mm-hmm. Brandy and I will be there along with the Nana Boss. And I know Dee Roberts is also going to be there. So come over there if you're in the Missouri, Oklahoma, surrounding areas. Come on over there, and it's going to be a good time there too. So,
like I said, that one's going to be unique because it is a nighttime investigation going on with this, and wow.
And Brandy's camping. She doesn't camp. She glamps. She is tent camping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, and I have to explain that. They're like, oh, Brandy, she's too good to camp. No, I am not too good to camp. I just know what's out there.
Yep.
I just know. It's kind of like, maybe not. I'll do an RV or a camper or something, but I already know what's out there. It's just, the whole tent thing kind of scares me a little bit. But if we go to like the LBL during camping season and things like that, absolutely, I'll get out there. I mean, the only thing I really worry about is the skunks, honestly, in the LBL. Right, they are awful. But as Krista and I have talked about, like when it is not camping season, that gets a little scary. That is a little creepy. So I don't know if I would do any primitive camping at that time.
Right.
What I heard is you're too good for primitive camping. That's what I heard. That's all I heard. I know that's what Krista heard. Yeah, she heard you only want to camp at a place where you can plug your hair dryer in.
No, it's not me with the hairdryer. Hairdryer is my arch enemy. I swear. It's my nemesis. It is, because if I blow dry my hair, it's like if I don't do it right, well, I have this fuzz helmet thing.
A very big afro.
Yeah, very big afro. So I have to be very careful with that. Usually it's just an air dry type of ordeal.
I had the same problem. That's why.
It's awful, isn't it, Jason?
I could just see Jason's beard getting all curly and stuff.
Yeah. No, Brandy's a glamper, so we it's going to be fun for down there in Ozark.
Yeah. I said, I don't mind primitive camping, but I know it's out there. So take it or leave it at that.
That's fair.
I mean, I've done it many, many, many times, especially when I was growing up. But I always tell that story. I'm surprised I'm still alive, knowing what I know now.
I know, right? Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was up there in the Michigan woods and tromping around and, with my brothers and friends and, not having a care in the world, not even thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
So today we thought we would talk about the legend of Boggy Creek.
Yes.
Fun. It's quite a story. Have you guys seen the movie?
I have not, and I really need to. I'm not a real big movie watcher, and people ask me, why do you not watch movies? For number one, I can't stay awake long enough.
Right.
Yeah, I
Once I
gotcha.
get still, I'm out.
Yep.
I can't watch them. But the other thing is I am more into folklore, the stories. I'm into reading about it.
Mhm.
And then I like the documentaries, the true stories, the eyewitnesses. I'm into that. I'm not into this. I don't know, where they just blow it up out of proportion kind of a story, where it was just little and then all of a sudden it's this big, huge thing that
Right.
happened. But this story is a little different.
Yeah, no. And you may actually like the Legend of Boggy Creek, at least the first one, because in many ways what you see with modern, like Monster Quest or any crypto show, essentially they're all just copying what Boggy Creek did. With essentially it's a documentary where they do recreations, but they interview the actual eyewitnesses, the people who were involved. They go to the locations. They do have a few recreations, but that's it. Mostly it is about interviewing the people who were there and showcasing what it is. You do have some what I feel are probably longer musical folk song breaks than is necessary, but
Right.
it was the 70s, so it is what it is. They did the same. I was just rewatching the animated Lord or Hobbit movie that came out in the 70s, essentially around the same time. I grew up on that, and it's brilliantly done, but I realized there's a lot of just random folk songs to explain what's going on here and here. It's like that must have been a trend in the 70s, was just some random folk song to move the plot along or something. But yeah, like I think you'd appreciate that, because it really is the prototype for what every cryptozoological show has been ever since.
Yeah, absolutely. And the 70s, I think, is when, like, what I think that movie was the beginning. And then, in the 70s, like The Exorcist, that was a big one too. That came out. So maybe it was kind of, I know they had like old vampire movies and things like that back in the day, but that really, I think, put a start on a lot of the more so scarier type movies.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like when I saw The Exorcist, that was it. I was like, I'm freaked out forever. That's what I thought. I thought. But no, they got worse.
Yeah.
Well, Boggy Creek was before The Exorcist, and that's quite a encounter that, like, the whole town, different things were happening, seeing this creature down there. And I read where it was took off with 200-pound hogs, just crossed a fence, tucked under their arms, walked away, I sure wouldn't want to see that.
No.
No. I mean, that's one of the things the movie does really, really well, is tell you those stories. What's funny though is I did a comic adaptation of it years ago. Someone thought they had the rights to do the comic adaptation. They didn't, and it just never moved forward. Pamela wasn't certain what she wanted to do with it, so it sort of died on the vine. But we went back and sort of watched it a lot, and I noticed something that I'm certain other people have noticed as well. When you put all of the stories together, right? Obviously, there's certain names that keep reappearing, right? Certain familial names. But the thing is, and this has been noticed in just general Bigfootery, over the years.
Bigfootery, I like that word.
When men encounter Bigfoot, it is because either those creatures have come in to take food, right? Or men are in their natural habitats hunting, right? It's hunters, things like that's usually when they run across. The only other time is when they're like crossing the road, or there's or again, they're stealing somebody's hog.
Yeah.
But all of the female encounters in that film, the Bigfoot's coming to them to watch them, to spy on them, right? There's the girls at the, having a slumber party. They're coming up. Even the main encounter where the creature essentially attacks the house, which is sort of the climax of the story, and where you get the infamous scene of it reaching in, and I had such a great image for that too in the comic, where it reaches in and grabs the guy on the toilet. Again, it starts off because the women are there with the children alone.
Yep.
Right. The woman, again, I'm terrible with names, but the woman with her children just, out in the field, the creature's just staying there watching them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's women and children, they will come to and observe. Whereas with the men, it's always either you've run across them accidentally because you're hunting, you're in their ecosystem, or they're crossing the road, or essentially they have come in to steal our food. But that's it. Like, there's a very distinct and clear situation that it's not explored in the film at all. It's not even mentioned in the film. But if you've watched it a few times, you're like, hey, hold on, what's going on here? Right. But this is something and which is one of those reasons where it led credence to it, because I see that same phenomenon in my modern day research, right? Women all the time, and particularly if it's women with children, these creatures will come up to your house, or they'll come and watch you. They'll look over your fence. But nearly every male encounter I have is, I was out hunting, I was out in the field, or the few times is like it was crossing across the back field. But even those stories tend to be children, younger individuals. So it's this pattern that you see in the film, even though it's not presented in a narrative sense that way, but this pattern is clearly there. It's seen in the real world. It's seen in our research. So it's very, very telling. I mean, that that Mr. Charles Pierce did a lot of research on this, because the stories he puts in there really gives a very valid and sort of picture of the Bigfoot phenomenon.
Yeah. And you know what, you talked about how it watches the women and children, which is another question, do they watch long enough for the men to watch the men go away? Or do they, they know men are women and children technically, are the weaker ones, where the men is going to be in fight mode. And I find that interesting too. Yeah.
They're more likely to shoot at you.
Right. Exactly. And which to me says intelligence for this creature.
Well, and there's an alternative theory to that as well. And again, we don't know what the answer is yet. I think definitely the propensity of a man to take a shot at you is probably a good motivating factor. But there's also, we talked about this on Donnie's show, like 2 months ago or a month ago, surreptitiously, is that it may be entirely possible that most of the encounters that you have with Bigfoot are actually females. Wow. We always think about males being the ones to go in, but it's like, considering how often you see, again, the Bigfoot coming and observing children or females, it may be that it's because that's another female, and they hear the sound of the children. They're just checking it out, right? They're curious. Oftentimes in the wild, like the alpha males of wolves or coyotes, you don't really see them very much. Because they are the hunters. They are the ones who are very, you don't really see them. You tend to see the ones that are more protected. And that may just be what's going on, that you're actually seeing the females. I don't want to say what exactly got us on that part of the conversation, but essentially it may be that one of the reasons is because it's actually females who are they're interested because they like, oh, hey, it's another female and they've got babies. I like babies. Babies are cute. Let me look at them. Right. Like that. It's entirely possible that a lot of the theorized conflict is more fear based on our part. Right. And again, but doesn't the Bigfoot attack the house? Well, at the end, it does after we shot at it. It may be that, again, everyone's like, well, there's one creature. What if there's an entire troop out there? Right. Shelley Covington, Montana, has talked about this, that she believes that when you have, like, there's these rash of sightings in areas every 5 to 6 years, almost 10 years. Essentially, it dies down. No one sees anything. It sort of goes back into urban legend, folklore kind of stuff. And then you start seeing a bunch of sightings. She believes that a possible answer is that they're very, very mobile. And essentially what you have are different troops coming together for breeding purposes. And the reason you see there's this rash of sightings is you're seeing multiple creatures at different times, because there's like 5 or 10 in an area, maybe 20 in an area. And it's like, you don't see most of them. You're seeing the odd one out. But then when they go back to doing what they do, it's, perhaps this mating season is sort of over. You're back to maybe 1 or 2 that may be in the area where they traveled out their paths. But it's entirely possible that, again, they took a shot at a female, and the male came back and is like, you don't get to pull that crap here.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we as mothers, we do gravitate towards other mothers because we have that in common.
Sure.
I remember when I didn't have children, I didn't gravitate towards mothers. It was just like towards other single, people. I would gravitate there. But when I became a mother, it was like, well, let's just gravitate towards the family aspect. Let's just go that way.
Right.
And I can see that. I can see that they're just trying to take a look at and see us, because we are not as threatening, like you said, Jason. We're not as threatening. We're less likely to shoot at them, and maybe they find some peace in that they're just watching us.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, maybe they really just were watching, they had no intentions of, harming or anything like that. So,
yeah. And that makes me wonder about the whole Boggy Creek monster, about when it attacked or this, that, or the other. Were they doing anything to their family at the time? Because I'm sorry, but dads have a tendency to growl and be grumpy at times and yell and be gruff. Did they see that as a threat?
yeah.
As if they were going to harm the women and children or anything like that. Could that have sparked it? I don't know.
And you know what, on behalf of the men too, that happened to, and they said it happened in the 40s, in the 1940s. They're protecting their family. So I can understand where they would go out and they would take shots at it, because they didn't know what it was. It was a monster, Bigfoot wasn't even a term then, it was a monster of some sort. So I can understand that, where they would go out and be taking shots.
No,
absolutely.
Exactly. Well, and again, it goes back to, you see let's face it, it's an apex predator, right?
Right.
Working, assuming that what was encountered, I think what was encountered in the Falk area was, my text almost slipped out there for a second, was a biological entity, because it is shot. It does leave a blood trail. Because again, I'm the first one saying, look, I think we have a lot of different, phenomenon that's put into this Bigfoot box, but I think there's good reason to think this was a physical, naturally occurring biological entity that was encountered. Again, maybe multiple entities, if Shelley Covington, Montana's theory is correct, maybe that there were multiple creatures in the area. But yeah, you have these creatures running around. They're essentially apex predators. And they're coming in and they're checking out your wife and daughter, or wives and daughters, or children. You should be worried about that. You don't know what the intention is of that creature.
Exactly.
And I'm going to say now, again, I say this with the preface of, these stories existed about gorillas, in Africa as well, prior to sort of their official discovery. Indigenous tribes have the same story, so this could just be part and parcel to large primate, human interaction. But the lore of Bigfoot, or again, these wild men kidnapping women, comes from somewhere. Right, but
Yes.
we see the same thing with legends about the fawn and the satyr, leshy, things like that.
Mhm.
So it just may be part of human mythology, but again, if you don't know what this creature is, it's spying on your family, regardless of what its
Mhm.
intentions are. You don't know what that is.
Right.
Yeah, you take a shot at that thing, and again, that just may be why they're like, nope, nah. Which is again, maybe it was a female that was shot at, and
Sure.
so its mate came and showed up and was like, I'm gonna make certain y'all understand you don't get to pull this crap.
Right.
With my now he doesn't kill anyone, and that may be because she was fine, she wasn't killed, or it may have been that it was him. Like he just was like, okay, what's going on? Let's check this out. And again, he
Mhm.
was just interested, but again, it's like they took a shot at him. He went out and he was like, hey, I'm done. Or it could be her who was being aggressive. She's like, you don't get to shoot me. Either
Yeah.
way, the point is, we don't really know from the perspective of the Sasquatch what was happening at the time, what was
Right.
the intentions, how does it play out? Because I always told my kid, or all my kids, is like, look, if you poke a dog and it bites you, I'm not going to have any sympathy for you.
Right.
Mhm.
Now
True.
if a dog attacks you, yeah, I'm going to have all the sympathy in the world
Mhm.
for you, and I'm going to put the dog down.
Mhm.
Yep.
You poke at a dog and you're clearly antagonized and it bites you, I will have, in fact, I will smack you because you
Mhm.
provoked a reaction. We don't know what the situation is here. It could have just be misunderstanding. I'm not saying that the intention of the creature in question wasn't malevolent. We just
Mhm.
don't know that it was, and there's
Right.
alternative possibilities for why that exchange went down the way it did.
Yeah.
But this theme is clearly there in the film of when the men encounter versus when the women encounter these creatures, and there's a very clear difference in the phenomenon.
Mhm. Yeah. And even when it reached in for the guy,
Mhm.
you know, and who's to say maybe it wasn't, it's never felt a human. You know what I'm saying? And maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't, like you said, didn't have any ill intentions, just wanted to touch, see what it felt like.
We pet dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
we're always assuming that Sasquatch are thinking on a human type level,
Yep.
Hmm.
and that may not be so. I mean, they could have their own reasons that we do not understand.
Yeah.
We have to keep that in mind that eh, they're not going to think like a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just not going to think like that. They have
Mhm.
their own way. Like a dog doesn't think like a human. They've got their own thing. They do their
Right.
own thing. It's like that's why they say when training a dog that they have to make them feel like they're in a pack, that
Yeah.
Mhm.
they have their role and they have their job and they have to do this. That's why there's so many dogs out there that are unruly, or you're not able to
Right.
train them the way you want, is because they are bred specifically for a certain thing.
Yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
Maybe this is the case with Sasquatch, that they have their own thing. They have their own, you know, clan type
Yeah.
activities that they do that we don't understand, because that is not us.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that's a thought,
Yeah.
because people talk as if they are thinking like a human, and they may not be.
Yeah.
Correct. No, completely agree.
And you know what? Okay. So we talked about what ifs if it didn't mean any negative,
Mhm.
any harm on the people. Let's talk about what if it did.
Yeah.
Like was it trying I've heard of stories where Sasquatch have kidnapped people or children,
Yes.
and we've all heard those stories. So
Yes.
was it could they possibly have been hungry,
Mhm.
or could they have been just
Territorial.
Yeah,
territorial?
that's what I was getting ready to say. Maybe it
Yeah.
was territorial. Maybe the men were out in their area and they were, killing off their food or whatever, and they were just coming back to retaliate. It's kind of like, you don't come into my
Mhm.
area and take my food source. I'm
Right.
going to show you,
Yeah. Well, and I think this is one of those things where, whenever I hear people say, Bigfoot and Sasquatch, they're the forest brethren, the forest brethren. It's like, stop.
Hmm.
You don't know jack diddly crap. And it's like, well, it's because they told me. Then you don't know what you're talking to. Like, just straight up. Just because it says it's a Bigfoot doesn't mean it is a Bigfoot if it's talking
Right.
to you.
Hmm.
That having been said, There is, I swear Cliff Brockman used this one after. I'm not claiming that he didn't originate the idea on his end also, but there was an interview he did afterwards, and we had the same thought. I told him about it. It was like, that son of a... Anyway, I love Cliff. He's a great guy. But no, which is, why do we assume that every hiker that goes missing is that it's a bear or a cougar or something like that?
Right.
Yeah, unless you see the remnants of an apple teeny, you don't know that was a cougar that did it.
Exactly.
It could be that a lot of these people who go missing are victims of Sasquatch. Maybe you got too close. Particularly people who do these, primitive hikes. Like, maybe you got too close. Maybe you were just an easy meal or an easy target. Right. Whatever it is, there's a lot of assumptions made when these people just go missing.
Yeah.
And it could just be that these creatures are far more aggressive than we realize, but they're also kind of survived by staying the hell away from people with guns. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's another aspect of this whole thing that we just don't often think about, is primates in general don't want to hang out with humans, right? Given the opportunity. Now, again, your lesser primates, your monkeys, okay, they care a little less. But we just found the Billy ape. Like, that had been a legend for years, and they finally found them. And so the question then becomes, okay, well, if it's normal primate behavior to kind of want to stay away from people, again, and gorillas were very difficult to get a hold of. These things are smarter than gorillas, and it appears that they are. They just may be like, look, those things got guns. Right. They can kill us. I don't want anything to do with it. So we're going to stay away from them. And so essentially the interactions we have are either completely on accident, in which case they're like, okay, I need to get out of here, or it's because they've taken a measured, chance to grab a pig or whatever, right? They're like, okay, we think we're safe doing this. So there's sort of calculated risks. Again, females and children, not a threat. I want to check them out, see what's going on, right? Because I know I'm safe doing it, because odds are they're not going to, fire off the boomstick. Right. These are only theories and speculation, but it makes a lot of sense as to why perhaps we don't have the same number of encounters that we would expect if it was just, if it just didn't care about it, if it was just going about its day. Yeah, that's true. D.A. Roberts on his show, he made a good point, and he believes a lot of the people that do go missing, they're the ones that pulled the trigger. Be it a dogman or Bigfoot or something like that. They're the ones that pulled the trigger. And you know what? That makes sense if you really think about it. Because they, like you said, they don't want nothing to do with us. I mean, Well, and think about how many times do we hear the story, I couldn't shoot it, it looked too human. Right? Yes. You hear that story all the time. But to DA's point, if you pull the trigger, you're just shooting at the one that you see. Right. You don't know that there isn't two or three others just, again, they're not traveling in a straight line. They're sort of spread out. They may be like, okay, you took a shot. You're a threat. Whether you hit the Bigfoot or not, you're a threat. You need to go away. Yeah. Yeah. Or it could just be that you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they're like, you got too close. Sorry, this is how it goes. Right. You were, again, a territorial issue.
Well, to go back and visit about speaking to these and all of that. And when you said, are you sure that's what you're hearing? Are you hearing them? Do you know it's them? It's the same thing in the paranormal side. Krista and I, we will hear a child and go, oh, that's what scares us the most, is because when you hear child speaking, well, it may not be a child. We don't really know who we're talking to. It could be John that's talking to us, but he says, he's William. It's like you never know exactly who you're speaking with. We do rely on a lot of information that we get during that about, dates and names, and we'll look it up. And a lot of the times it's a lie. We're not finding anything on this. So how would you know if this, that you were actually speaking to Sasquatch, because that is a thing that Chris and I really, really watch out for when we're on a location that we know that there is a child that has been hurt.
I don't believe in children's spirits.
Mhm.
And I've said this on the show before, only because I feel like, children are pure. And if they pass, there's always somebody on the other side waiting for them. And if not
Right.
a parent, then, Jesus himself. I really believe that,
Mhm.
So why is
Right.
a child going to stick around here?
Mhm.
No, exactly. Well, and this is, again, a little off subject, but I think it's still ultimately on topic. Along those ideas, it goes back to, we're familiar now. It's become more popular now for people, to hear the old stories of, if you're walking a trail and you hear someone say your name, you don't go off trail, right?
Right.
This used to be very, very common knowledge. Well, the thought, I think, Brandy, I think we were having this conversation. It's like, well, but what happens if that happens inside an inner city at night?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Like, we sort of assume that all of that stuff's out in the woods. What if that's also in the cities?
Right.
But in the city, it's chalked up to, it's a suicide. It's just someone who's gone missing, or it's a drug deal gone bad. Like, we don't know what how often this stuff happens in the city, and it's just sort of and it's cataloged as something else, so we never stop to think about it. The thing about, for me, with the supernatural is, you don't know what you're actually necessarily dealing with, right? Obviously angels have a different protocol. There's things they can do, but anything beyond that, you don't know. And I think this is where, particularly if it's talking to you telepathically, especially if it's talking to you telepathically, it's like, you know what, stranger danger.
Yes.
A lot of these things are just the supernatural equivalent of a dude with a white panel van that's with free candy sprayed on it.
Agreed.
Right.
Again, which is one of the reasons why I think there is, I hold the opinion there is at least a possibility for there to be a naturally existing creature that we call Bigfoot, but then we have this very different phenomenon that's out there, because sometimes this phenomena behaves very, very differently. And versus the natural, what appears to be the organic stuff and naturally occurring things, they're like, I just want to get a pig and get out of here, right? I'm just crossing a road, right? Or it's clearly doing something else. It's like, I'm just grabbing something from the fridge, right? Whereas you have these other things that they want to talk to you, they hang out, they appear mysteriously in your room, they disappear in a blinding flash of light. Well, great. You have missing time. Okay. You know what? All that has one-to-one parallels with all this other phenomena that is clearly not Bigfoot. And if the supernatural stuff can appear as whatever it wants, and we know that it can, and again, what if we're co-creating? Again, Dean talks about this all the time. What if, from Mysterious Library, what if we're co-creating their appearance based on our assumptions, right? Because whether it's, look at traditional UFO lore, all the modern stuff sort of post late 60s, early 70s becomes very standardized to the gray and all that. But before that, before there's sort of this standardized, I would argue that standardized material came out of the government. That's a whole other episode. But before that, they look very, very different. Like there's a lot of different looks. Some look like just almost stereotypical 1950s sci-fi things. Others look like actual goblins. And then you have the other phenomena that where they're like, oh, it's not a UFO, so I don't care about it. Well, okay, but you have missing time. You have all the same elements, but the creature looks like it's a giant bird man that's dancing on top of a water tower with other giant birds. Things like Mothman, things that look like straight up demons, things that look like trolls.
Yeah.
Like you have all of these same phenomena in this same sort of appearance, but the appearances are different. But people are like, well, because it looked like Bigfoot, it must be Bigfoot. Right? It's like, I'm sorry, we don't. Last time I checked, I don't recall. I just forgot her name. Gorilla in the Mist. Jane Goodall.
Jane Goodall. Yeah.
I don't remember Jane Goodall saying, "Well, I was talking telepathically with the gorillas today."
Right. No.
You know, or they all disappeared in giant flashes of light and became orbs and, you know, levitated away. Same thing with you have a lot of these Bigfoot encounters in very specific locations where none of that's happening.
Right.
Right. You don't have them. Well, their eyes were glowing, not light refraction or eye shine. Their eyes were glowing. You don't have glowing eyes. You don't have them turning into balls of light. You don't have them speaking to you telepathically or just turning into a mist or whatever. You don't have those accounts with very specific things. But then you have all of those accounts with a bunch of the others.
Yeah.
That's telling me maybe what we have is two different phenomena, and maybe this is where it gets worse. What if the reason these other paranormal entities want you to think they're Sasquatch is because people saw the movie, right? What do? We go and we buy cups. There's a statue of a Bigfoot.
Right.
And what do? We go and we research. Where's the line between research and worship? That line may not be as hard and fast as we'd like it to be. And all they care is that you're getting close enough, and they're just waiting for that one person that's like, we got you.
Yeah.
So again, it's like this is where it comes back around to Boggy Creek. Boggy Creek, the creature, or at least ostensibly the one creature, possibly more, is clearly biological because it does get shot. It leaves a blood trail. It doesn't like it when we're shooting at it.
Right.
It's stealing hogs. But do these other things use those accounts and say, I'm going to pattern myself after that, so that we go and also we don't think of them as paranormal, right? How many people do we talk to like, oh no, it's just Bigfoot that's talking to me telepathically?
Right. Right. And that's where I feel, and I'm not saying people don't mind speak, because I do believe that there's something coming through there. However, you know, when like the demonic, you know, they will portray whatever they can do to get through to you. So if Bigfoot's your game, you know, they can come in as Bigfoot, or, you know, all of us are open to children. And that's hence where I come back, and I don't believe in children ghosts, you know, children spirits. And, you know, the same with, you know, like the elderly, you know, nice old lady, you know, and there you go.
Yeah.
So that does, you know, not saying people don't get upset with us about the mind speaking. It's just, you know, I'm not sure that that's exactly who you might be talking to.
Yeah,
right.
It's this thing, that you're not mind speaking with something, right? I'm not saying there isn't. In fact, my entire point is that there is communication. My problem is someone Facebooks me and says, "Hi, I'm Cary Grant." I can't assume that's Cary Grant that I'm talking to, right? I mean, we would double check somebody's ID. My problem is, you have something that's come up and is talking to you telepathically. How do you know what you're talking to is what it claims to be, right? Like,
well, two things here. Talking about children and things like that, I am right on with Krista. Now, I do believe that there could be a residual type haunting where it's just a little clip in time that is caught in a loop. You know, it's not intelligent. It's just something that keeps reoccurring, and that may happen. Second thing, when it comes to mind speak, we talked about this on a previous show, but everybody that I've asked, now I haven't asked everybody, and this may not be true for everybody, it's my own opinion, but everybody I've asked, I said, well, when you mind speak, are you hearing your own voice replying to your question, or are you hearing a different voice? And they all say they're hearing their own voice, like it's in their head. So that makes me think is such as an empath. They can feel that. They can feel the emotion versus hearing it. They're just, you know, it's just, you know, coming in differently. It's like Krista and I have both walked in places that, oh, we shouldn't be here. Something's telling me to get out. And that is correct saying. Something told me to get out. I may not have heard it, but I felt it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a hard, hard thing to distinguish between the two is the feeling and what you're actually hearing. Because it is tough. It is tough. And maybe that's a form of mind speak or whatever. I don't know. But like I said, everyone I've asked said, well, I'm hearing my own voice speaking. So it's just like, well, something's happening. And like I said, it could be like an empath type vibe. So I don't know. I mean, it's just my own opinion. It's you know, it's all in theory, of course, because nobody knows.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Well, it's like we used to, we had him on Texas from Porch back in the day before he passed away. And I like the guy. I would talk to him off air a lot. I want to say Bongino. That's not his name. That's the radio guy. It's not Giordano because that's the pizza place. Anyway, we had him on the show a lot, and he claimed that he spoke to aliens and that the actually spoke to them. Right? They would take him. They do all these things, and we asked him once, how do you know they're telling you the truth? And he goes, well, I can feel it. That I can feel the truth in their words. And of course, the question that I always asked is, but if they're communicating with you telepathically, are you sure they're not just making you think that you feel like they're telling you the truth? Like that's my problem is once you like there's a line where like this is where we exist, right? In the material world, we can operate within that. We have freedom to operate. We can know what we're dealing with. Once it gets over that edge of that line, you've got no clue what is happening. And I think the problem is once you open yourself up to communication with them, it could be like you push the wrong link on your phone and they've got everything that you own.
Yes.
Got all your information. It could be once you establish that contact that it's like, congratulations, they've got read and write access to you in ways that you don't even understand. You can be influenced. Maybe they can't just overwrite your free will, but they can make you think, oh, these guys are good guys.
Right.
Because unless they do something really over a line, and again, from what I've seen, a lot of people, it's like these things will play very coy and like, no, I can feel them. They're good. They're loving. And it's like, and then they end up committing suicide. Sadly, I've had this happen, or they go off and then they do crazy. And you're like, you're hurting yourself. It's like, no, these things care about me. No, they don't, because you're destroying yourself. What are you doing? Right. That's sort of my thing is if it's communicating with you telepathically, that should be a very red flag. Like there's a difference between your point of the empathic, because I think we've all had that where you're like, I don't need to be here. Like you feel. I've had the point where I had the gun on me. I'm like, no, something's here. Like I am in mortal terror. I knew it.
Yeah.
But I've never had anything talk to me. Right.
No.
The point is not that we're saying that nothing is talking. Our point is something is talking to you, but I wouldn't trust what it's saying about itself.
Exactly. Right. Just as people can lie, why do they always have to tell the truth if this is happening? Yeah. Couldn't they be lying to you also? Just
the demonic are liars. That's what they do.
Right.
Demons are liars.
Yeah. But I mean, telepathically, if Bigfoot is talking to me, I would have to question it. Are you telling the truth or are you lying? Why should I trust what it's telling me? Why should I trust it?
Yeah.
You know, I don't trust all people.
Right.
And I don't trust animals. I don't, because they have their own agenda. You know, they are wild animals. They don't live by our rules. They will do their own thing. So why would I trust Sasquatch if they were speaking with me? I would always have to question that. I would not take that at face value when they're telling me something. There's no way.
I would agree with you on that. You know, just as you said, we don't talk, like Jane Goodall, she didn't mind speak with the apes. No. We don't mind speak with our own pets.
It was all done in body language and things like that. And she would more like mimic what their traits and habits were versus using the human side. She would use their side. That's what all confuses me. But then again, this is all in theory. We don't know. Nobody knows. So there it is.
We don't hate on us. We're just, we're not saying that doesn't happen. We're just,
I would say question it. Question it. If it happens to you, question it. Because You know, anything can lie, anything can manipulate you into doing what it wants you to do, whether it be, you know, cryptid, paranormal, whatever. Question it.
Yep. And that's the thing. They, you know, the demonic have to be invited in. And if you're openly talking to these things, there's your invitation right there.
There's your invitation. So just be very careful when opening that door.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly the point. Once you begin communication, you've allowed access to you.
That's right.
Absolutely.
They will absolutely take advantage of you.
Yes. And they will tell you anything you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we're at the 50-minute mark.
I know we are. Yeah. That was quick. That was, I mean, honest to God, that was quick. That was a great conversation. I was like, whew, where did that go? Where did that go? I was listening intently. I was like, you know, but I love these conversations because I love doing the flip side of things. Yeah. I love, you know, it's like you have the mainstream story, but let's talk about what lies underneath that. And you know, that's my favorite.
Yep, absolutely. And so everybody, we're going to let you go here. Usually, you know, you guys just tune in around for the break, but this is pre-recording, and we actually are pre-recording another show when we get finished with this one. So we're going to keep these to just the 52-minute mark, and we appreciate everybody tuning in with us. And you know, like I said, we're all in Texas. Come down to Fort Worth. Well, it's White Settlement, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah, it'll be. Yeah, it's in White Settlement, just outside of Fort Worth. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So if you see us in the same clothes on the next show, don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah, mind your business.
Yeah, mind your business.
Our clothes 2 days in a row, I promise. You know.
Right. That's right.
But like you know, Krista was saying, if you can make it to White Settlement, come on. It's going to be a good time. You know, all of Texas Front Porch is going to be there, except for Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and we're just going to have a great time. So come on.
Yep. We appreciate everybody, and we will see you again soon. Good night.
Bye.